Now we will go over roles. Roles are convenient ways to group users together so that you can do actions on a group instead of on an individual account. So first, from the user management admin page, we're going to select roles, and you'll see listed all of the current user roles available. We're going to talk a little bit about each of them and what they're used for is on your website, and then we're going to create one so that we can play with further. First, you'll see anonymous user, then you'll see authenticated user. You'll notice that anonymous user and authenticated users are locked. That means you cannot remove those two accounts. Those are required because anonymous user is the default role that someone who comes to your site has, and authenticated user is the default role that someone who logs into your site has. So anonymous user is anyone who comes to your site that we don't know who they are. Authenticated user is anyone who comes to the site who actually logs on. Those are the two defaults. Next, we have admin. Admin role is created for people who perhaps need to be able to create products, add content to the site, who perhaps need to be able to remove comments or approve things, check on orders, things like that. Next, we have customer, which is a test account that we created just to test the roles. What we're going to do is we're going to remove that one and then recreate it so you can see how to add one. We also have the role of owner, which is you. The owner basically has complete access to the site with the exception of some systems things that are needed by PCL admins. And then we have the PCL admins. These are the accounts that were created by PCL so that we can have access to those system things that I talked to you about. Okay? So first, I'd like to go across from user over to edit permission or edit role. And we're going to edit the role customer and we're going to delete this role. Now I'm back at the role list and we're going to recreate that just to show you how to create one. Just type in customer here, then select add role. And now you'll see customer is again in the list. If you go over and select edit permissions, you'll then see the permissions for that role. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about permissions in a few minutes, but we're not going to go into great detail. Suffice it to say, every module, or the way that you would probably think of it is every tutorial that you have is another module. In this case, we are going over the user module, which is available right here. And in the user module, we can select permissions for accessing user profiles, administer permissions, administer users, and change own user name. So this is a customer. As a customer, they do not need to see other people's user profiles. They also don't need to be able to administer permissions to themselves or to other people, or their administered users. But perhaps for customers, we'll give them an extra permission and that they can change their username, whereas other people cannot. So we would select that. Now, someone who you place into the customer role would now be able to change their own username. Select Save Permissions. And you are done. And that is really it for roles. We covered how to list roles, how to edit a role, how to delete a role, and how to add a role. We also briefly looked into permissions. We'll take a look deeper in permissions in just a moment.